This short video is concerned with aesthetics and environment, creating for yourself and for your students a beautiful space in which to work. Let me state right at the get-go that this is the beginning of an academic year, and so the beauty that I injected into the space were things that I brought to the children. As time goes on and as the year progresses, the children will begin to introduce their own beauty into this space. It will not simply be me dictating what is or is not beautiful, but we have to start somewhere. And this is where I have started. Once things get going, the children will bring in beauty or create beauty, and we will feature that as well, so that the room, the space, the building is ours as a community and not mine as an individual. Again, we must begin somewhere, and we must begin to make a change somehow. And this is how I began this particular year. This is a music space, although the space could be a science space, a mathematics space, any space that you want. I believe that if we want to change the way people see what we do, then one of the first things that we need to concern ourselves with is changing our environment. Changing our environment in such a way that people automatically say, "Whoa, we're not in Kansas anymore." I believe that environment influences perceptions. I go to the office because I am perceiving that I am working. I go home when I'm not working. So environment influences perceptions, and the perceptions of the environment influence how we behave. And the behaviors that we exhibit determine our reality. So therefore, if we want to change students' realities, their realities of what we do, and in my case it's musical artistry, then I need to begin with what they are provided visually. Since we're a visual creature, we are visual creatures, I should say. So changing reality begins with environment. One of the things that really, I believe, gets us in elementary and possibly secondary education as well is this idea that things have to be cute. When I'm deciding on what to put in my space, it's not about cute, it's about cool. I want this space to be cool. I want children to come into the space and say, "Whoa, this is cool." Cute doesn't last forever. Cool lasts forever. And in addition to that, I'm interested in wonder and awe. Because blackline masters and cutouts and jazzy colors and primary colors and all of that bling, so to speak, educational bling, is ever present, there's not a lot of wonder and awe. A two-dimensional caricature of a child is not very thought-provoking, so there's not a whole lot of wonder. When I provide things in my space, I want it to stimulate a wonder and an awe, as in beauty. Wonder and awe. Cool, not cute. This is a water feature that I have built for the space. Some rocks that I had in the backyard that were no longer being used, free. A tub that was no longer being used, free. bamboo that I cut from an empty lot in my hometown, free. Some backlights against the wall that used to be under a counter, but we've removed them, free. Well, I paid for them at one time, but they're free. So in this little corner, I immediately set up the idea that this isn't a classroom, this is something different. You'll notice a piece of artwork on the wall. It came from my home. We have much too much artwork for our walls, and so they sit in closets. I bring that artwork to this space. It's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. I'm from Alaska. A lot of the art that I have is Alaskan, and so I feature that in this space. One, I've already bought it and I don't have to spend more money, and two, it's just beautiful. The table that you see that's over this little refrigerator was built by someone in my community, someone that I know. It wasn't purchased from a store. That's important. This piece of furniture that you see here came out of my grandmother's house. It's over 100 years old. And yes, it's an antique and it could be destroyed. I'll take my chances. However, it's me. It's part of my heritage and my history. That's important. This hanging quilt that you see is something that I made. It's not perfect, but it's mine. As far as my hands did that, the children get to see another side of Mark. I'm not this two-dimensional caricature of a classroom teacher. I am more, as you are more. The piece of artwork that you see here was drawn, it's all in pencil, by my baby sister, who at the time was an art major. Again, my personal history in here. The lamps, you'll notice that the ceiling lights are not on. It's all incandescent lights. Because the room is very stark, and because the room is very loud, as you can hear there, I put some of these, I guess, scarving material on the ceiling to give it some color, one, and two, to break up the squareness of the room. And in a moment, you'll be able to get a better picture of how I did that. Suspended ceiling, I just tacked it underneath the corners, and it adds a bit of color to an otherwise fairly flat room, flat beige-ish room. In this particular space, this particular building, you can only use greens and blues and purples and then natural brown kind of colors. You can't have red or yellow. So I worked within that palette, and this is what I came up with. This is the opposite side of the room. It's sort of an odd-shaped, triangular, trapezoid-ish kind of room. But there's a bookcase here against the wall that we're zooming in on right now. And that was also built by the same individual that built the little table over the refrigerator. Because I need to store mallets and other type of equipment, I had a gourd that I repurposed as a mallet holder, a natural gourd. You may have gourds in your town, or you can buy them. Natural materials, as many natural materials as you can find, use them. Living plants are very, very important to me, and these are 3 jade plants that I have grown and put them in 3 Japanese-esque containers. My idea is that the room should be as beautiful with as many different types of beauty as I can give it. Living things are one of the beautiful things in my world. This is the second clock in my space, in this music space. And if there's one thing that I would like you to do It would be to change your space with one thing, and that one thing would be a clock. It does not have to be a black and white Walmart purchased West clock. It can be something that is beautiful. You need a clock in your room. You need to know what time it is. Get a clock that is something that you find beautiful. If you have the clock with the apple face on it, that, for me at least, screams, oh, this is school. This particular clock screams, oh, this isn't necessarily school. Find ways to introduce beauty into your room that doesn't scream, oh, we're at school. Again, we want to change people's perceptions, change the way they see their world. This is looking from the windows to the back of the room that I showed you at first. Now, focusing on the carpet in the middle, this is what we sit around and have our group time, and then we'll have center time later in a class. This particular carpet I got at a home improvement store. This is a patio rug, and the reason I was drawn to it is that it has cocopelli on it. As you know, it's a petroglyph from southwest the United States, the southwestern United States, and it is about the only musical thing in the room. It's the only thing that has any overt reference to music, and it's historic. That's one of the reasons that I chose it. When you outfit your room, think of ways to think outside of the typical music studio or the typical math room or the typical science or the typical everything. What are you doing to bring yourself to the children? There is beauty in your world. How do you bring that to your children so they see more than, oh, we're going to learn? The way I operate with the children, I hope at least, is let us make music and, oh, by the way, there's some learning that goes on. For a science person, oh, we're going to ask some questions, we are going to discover some things, and, oh, by the way, we're going to master blah, blah, blah. But the mastering, oh, blah, 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 the thing that's important to the politicians and the pundits is secondary to that, wow, asking questions in a scientific way is really cool. Writing your thoughts in a poetic way is really cool. That is the important part of what we do. And I believe that what we should do is begin with the environment. An environment changes perception. Perception changes behavior. Behaviors change reality.